Can you see me?
Is it doing top and bottom?
No, it's side to side for me.
Okay. It's definitely top and bottom and being weird again, but I can take it. We're good. Are we sure?
Hmm?
I said, are we sure?
I'm looking at my screen and it's side by side.
Okay. Then it's definitely just being weird for me again. So that's fine.
Do you have it where it keeps it from flipping sideways? Because I know I have to do that for mine. I have to make sure I unlock it so when I turn the phone, it'll flip. Huh?
Oh, okay, good. Okay, Tanika said it's side by side. We're good.
Okay.
So what I realized that happens
Mm-hmm.
is that when I add when I start sharing this in groups,
Mm-hmm.
it alters it for me on my end only.
Okay.
So good.
Right.
Hey Talay, hey Tanika.
Right.
Hey Michelle. So I just want to make sure I didn't grab my other phone because that's what I was using to like manage comments.
Right.
So let me pull it up here. So how's everybody doing? Welcome to our final episode of the series, The Heart of a King. And this is our final conversation where we've talked about on day one, we talked about the heart of a king. What does it look like? You know, how does he show up in life for himself? Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Faraji, will you do a quick recap on the heart of a king? What does that look like? How does he show up for himself?
Consistency, and standing on his word, agreeing to whatever being loyal to whatever he agreed to, standing on his word, because all a man has is his word, being exactly who he say he is and doing exactly what he says he's gonna do, and always having that line of communication, not being a coward. Um, and yeah, so that's where we are right now.
Okay. Hey, Jackie. And so then the other thing, part two, we talked on day two, we talked about how he shows up with his queen.
Right.
Um, and so with the queen, what did you say?
Just all the common thread was this open communication, uh, making sure that he keeps her as his partner and not subservient to him and not looking at her as a dependent, but being her partner, teaching her in those areas where she needs teaching and being able to be taught in those areas where he need to be taught some things.
Okay, awesome. So y'all, that was it. If you have not had a chance to listen to it, it is honestly very much so worth the replay. Okay, revisiting that. So today we're going to talk about the heart of a king as it pertains to his kingdom. And so his kingdom, as we talked about, I asked Dr. Faraji, I said, hey, listen, could you give us, your definition of a king? And he talked about consistency. He talked about, like he just said, standing on his word, because how he shows up for himself is going to be a reflection of how he shows up for you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, that wasn't my words. That was Dr. Faraji's words as a man and a male perspective. And so the whole goal behind us having this conversation collectively is that although I can share information that I think really works well, I believe I have a lot of value to add to the conversation, but it's nothing like hearing it from a male perspective himself. So this is where we are, and this is what he stated. So consistency is very important. And so for some of the gentlemen out there who may feel like, well, I'm not always consistent, that's something I'm working on. We want to help you, we want to encourage you to continue to develop in your consistency, because that's developing the king in you,
Right.
right?
And men are not infallible. I'm not always consistent. I wasn't always consistent. I've had my coward moments. I've had my less than moments, but better, you do better, and you aspire to do better. Show up for yourself, show up for the people around you. There was a point in time where I had to go back to friends, family, and women I've dated just to apologize. Like, listen, you put up with me from the time my mother passed away till this time. I apologize. I was not myself. I was not the best that I can be. I didn't advocate for myself well. I wasn't living in my truth. And it was a lot of things that go wrong, but you progressively get better. You work on yourself. You know, it was a point in time to where I wasn't working on myself. There's a point in everybody's life to where they just kind of flowing in the wind and not working on themselves, you know. So you aspire to get to that place to where, you know, you're the best version of yourself.
You posted something today that I want you to recap, if you don't mind,
Sure.
about the not being the best version of yourself. But what did you say
No,
about
huh?
how
You got to remind me. I don't remember what I posted.
you posted something about not being the best version of yourself, but wanting the best version?
I was saying, people, it was something to the fact that people really don't want to change, but they expect people to show up to something. I'm
Oh,
paraphrasing, but yeah, but that's the truth, right? You know, some
yeah,
people, we ignore ourselves. We ignore the healing that needs to take place. We ignore, you know, reaching for the best version of ourselves, but we want somebody to come to us whole and complete and without issues. But we refuse to acknowledge that we have issues that are unaddressed, you know? So there was the truth to that. Yeah. I almost forgot about that.
yeah, absolutely. I thought that was pretty dope, because it is definitely true that, oftentimes, and it's, think about it, in relationship, we always want the best person. We really do. We want the best for us. We want people to be on our team. We want to make sure that a person is our teammates. We want to make sure that a person knows what it looks like to be a partner. We want to make sure that they show up as a leader. We want to make sure that they know what it looks like to be a servant as well. We want to make sure that they know what it looks like to submit both sides. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
Right.
Tracy, we want to make sure that everybody shows up, in those areas. But are we developing ourselves? Hey, uncle, what's up? So anyhow, let's jump on into it. I know that when I say, first of all, when I say kingdom, I want you to give me a definition of what kingdom includes for you. But you gave us your definition of a king and what that looks like. What does it look like? What encompasses your kingdom?
A kingdom is not necessarily a brick and mortar, right? You have kings out there who may be renting someplace, right? Or may not have a place to stay, but they're still, you know, men of good report, you know. But the kingdom is everything that encompasses their life, their family, their relationships, their, you know, day-to-day dealings, you know. That's a man's kingdom, you know, just like a woman will have her queendom, everything that's attached to her. You know, how are you governing? How are you a good steward over the things in your life? That may be people, that may be places, that may be things. Are you a good steward? And a king and a queen is a good steward over the things in their respective kingdoms.
Okay, I love it. Not, we did talk about how it doesn't mean you own a country, you
Right,
know, and
right,
things like that. But it definitely, you do have things that you are responsible for,
right.
and oversee. And so in this one, we're going to talk about, I wrote down that a king is, his kingdom, I should say, is him stewarding his family,
Mm-hmm.
his friends, and his community.
Right,
Now family, obviously, that's your home. That's the makeup of your home. So rather
right,
that home look like, a house or apartment or whatever, but that's the makeup of your home, your
right,
family, and then obviously your community, because we talked about how, when he shows up in life, he's showing up, when he shows up for himself, he's showing up in life, and it's going to have an impact on the people that are around him. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Absolutely.
So now I wrote down that, a king would be concerned about sees things from an investment standpoint.
Right.
Would you agree, and elaborate?
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. You're investing time, you might be investing money, you might be investing mental and emotional energy. And from the position of a king, you have to kind of, you know, you hear in that term, you have to survey the entire land. You have to know and be on top of everything that's going on in your kingdom, aka your world. You know, so where you may in one season invest some time into doing X, Y, and Z until you see that into fruition, and then you invest into something else. You invest into your queen, you invest into your property, you invest into your community. And there is like a web of things that goes along with being a steward and being responsible for and investing something into, again,
Mhm.
time, energy, mental energy, etc.
Okay. And I believe that when you see things from the lens or through the lens of investing, then you're expecting something in return.
Right, right. Is an ROI, the return on investment. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's not just about, me just coming in and giving, right? As a king perspective, it's not just about you coming in and giving.
right,
It's definitely about there's a return. You know what I'm saying? There's an expectation that something is going to be given. So I shared this concept or principle, if you will, with when I was talking about the queens. I said, now when we just go back and look at the story of Ruth, and a lot of times, people look at Ruth and Boaz and they're like, oh, Boaz was paid and he had land and he had this and he had that. And how she positioned herself to say, hey, listen, Boaz, no, Naomi actually told her, hey, listen, he got some stuff going. He's got a life. He's got things going for himself. And so I meant to post this earlier today, but there's a difference between gold digging, and there's a difference between that and like family, future planning. That's what it was. Future planning and gold digging.
right,
When you want something, be it a man or a woman, right? And I want you to address this from the king's standpoint. But from a woman's perspective, for her to identify that a man has something going on in his life, that he's got, a dollar or two in his pocket, that he knows how to take seed and make fruit, right? He
right.
knows how to produce, he knows how to multiply, doesn't mean necessarily that you're gold digging unless there's no ROI, which means that I don't have an expectation to give anything into,
Right.
right? I'm
So that
only go ahead.
right, that's what I was about to say. Because a lesser-minded individual, well, they will go into that. Oh, what can I get out of this? Right? What can I
Mm,
get? Oh, he got enough, right? He or not. He has. I don't have as much. What can I get from that? That's a lesser-minded person. A person of higher stature would say, how can I increase that? Because again, the the purpose of coming together is to multiply, not just add. You can add
yeah,
you to the equation and end up subtracting something. You want to multiply it, right? So with those, somebody just coming in, like we talked about yesterday about being a dependent. You added
yeah,
yourself to the equation, but now all you're doing is subtracting because you have your hand out.
yeah,
So um, when you add a person to your equation, of course you want to multiply, but you want to get something back, and you want to make sure that you're not adding somebody who just wants to take out of the pot because they may not want to do the work, etc. But that's the perception, or that's the intention behind somebody seeing someone, a man or woman, who has something. Hey, he or she could pay my bills, or I could get a car out of them, or I got a place to stay if I mess with them. And that's just the wrong way to kind of go into anything.
yeah. And so that's one of the things when you think about investing is I have an expectation to get something in return. So
Right.
in these relationship dynamics, my encouragement to anybody listening is that you be intentional, that when you're bringing something to the table that should be able to, produce. And I know, Faraji, you said, before, like when we first met, you was like, a woman who has a job, a car, and a house ain't enough. Tell me why.
Well, it's not that it's enough, but that's basic. If you want to compare apples to apples in terms of being with somebody, you got a job, you got a car, you got a house. I got the same thing. What else you bringing? Everything that you bring to the table might not be tangible, might not be materialistic, because that's
Mhm.
easy. That's easy. You know, that's the basic needs. You got clothes on your back, food on your stomach, and then the extras are you got a car to drive and all this other stuff. But if the man or woman comes with the same thing, where's the other value? Where's the rest of it at? So that person that has a car, just like I would tell women, I said, a man who has money, that still doesn't mean anything. What type of man is he? You should be more concerned with the type of man he is. Is he going to touch your kids? Is he going to treat your family right? Is he going to treat you right? Having money, being able to provide for you is not enough. There's not enough. Because I know a lot of instances where as a man, he's pacifying a lot of women. Oh, here's a car. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing over here. I'm gonna disrespect you every chance I get. I'm gonna lie to you, whatever the case is. But here, I'm gonna appease you with these material things. And not
Mm-hmm.
that is not enough, it's just what else is there? Because a
Yeah.
lot of people hold on to these titles and to these material things, and you see these memes floating around that's really rooted in toxicity, when they try to give relationship advice, but that's the bare minimum. That's the bare necessities you have. If you're an adult, you should have a place to stay. A car is not required, but it's nice to have, and you should be able to take care of yourself, provide for yourself, and provide for your children if you have any.
So let's go into that. We talk, so that's good. And again, I shared, I wanted to share that little tidbit of information because we must, I feel as if, and my observation is such that emphasis is on those things, the tangible stuff. And this is what's taking the focus away from people really doing the inner work, because
Absolutely.
they are bringing in, you know what I'm saying? They're bringing in the car, they're bringing in, like you said, these tangible things. And then they're saying, because I brought this to the table, that's almost their permission slip to not have to bring respect
Right.
or honor or,
That's where they place their value. Hey, I come with a car, a nice car. I come with a nice house, a nice house. But
yeah,
that's basic. Those things come and go. That's easy. That's
yeah,
easy. The things
yeah.
that have value are not tangible. That have true value are not tangible. Because I would rather be broke with a woman who loves me, who's gonna grind so we can get back on our feet. Because a lot of times people who hold on to those tangible things, once those tangible things go, they're gone too. Oh,
Yeah.
he can't pay the bills no more, or she can't help me out no more, so I'm gone.
Yeah.
And that's not true value.
Right. So Jackie said she needs to be able to multiply everything he gives, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, etc. Too many women subtract and divide and bring the bare minimum. Jackie, you going in for the ladies tonight.
Yeah, 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 yes.
Jackie,
I
she
agree.
was
I'm
like,
agree
listen,
with that. I'm agree.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's true. And again, but Jackie too, what are contributing factors? Like, there's a lot of people who aspire to be no shots to nobody but Instagram models, because
Right,
that's where a lot of the hype is. So
right.
if we hype it up, it's supply and demand. If people keep on demanding that this is how you show up, then that's what the people are supplying. So ladies are being hyped up to believe that, your body shape and and your legging pants and all that other stuff. No
But
offense to nobody. I
but
mean, a friend of mine just sent me some leggings today. She sure did.
but that's crazy though,
Compliments to you.
because
Go ahead.
I because of I know a lot of people who delve into that realm, and they are miserable on the back end. The thing with social media, we get to show up how we get to tailor how we show up. But if you really study, like, and this is homework that y'all can do. Y'all can go to these people's pages, right? Okay, so you could go to these people pages, you can see the bed on the floor, they don't have house fully furnished, right? This is just one of the levels. Of course you have somebody, and just because I know a lot of those places are rented, a lot of these people are miserable on the back end, right? But if you go to the Instagram page, they're fame. You assume that they're famous, right? But these people, because men and women do it, they are seeking validation from the village. They
Mm-hmm.
seeking validation from everybody else. And sometimes, it could be done genuinely if somebody uses it as a hustle. You get a lot of notoriety, then you start selling people's products and blah, blah, blah. That's what it's become. But a lot behind the scenes, a lot of those people are miserable, absolutely miserable.
Yeah. And so I think that, like, even just going back really quick and we'll go on, like what Jackie said, there's so much in alignment with what you're saying. There's so much more that needs to be brought to the table, right? And you addressed it too, like a king. So let's go into this. This will be a good segue into protection, because you talked about yesterday protection being emotional protection, protecting our heart and things like that. But we're talking about it in the realm of the kingdom. So when you consider the kingdom, there's family. Hey, Cranice, there's family, there's the community and things like that. What does it look like, and how do you, without it becoming a burden, how do you steward the kingdom, the family, the community, and the friendships and things like that?
Well, I mean, you have to stay conscious of the things that you kind of bring, right? You bring from you, right? You don't want to disturb the kingdom with something that you're not 100%, you're not right, in some instance, and you don't want to delve that out to your family, right? And then you also want to be mindful of the things that you bring in. Just say your house is at peace, and then all of a sudden you bring in somebody around who's looking to divide your house, looking to plant a seed of mistrust in your house. It could be the girlfriend, girl, whatever. I thought I saw him something. I mean, something just as simple as that. Something planting a seed in your child to make them rebellious. After your house is about peace, because with a lot of that is done through order. Again, communication is order. Like I was giving you an example before, like for my house, right? So I have this thing about physical protection, like only I can answer the door, right? If we're not expecting somebody and that door ring, I'm answering the door, right? Because there's too many instances to where you get some repairman, he looking around, ain't no man in the house, he might come back, or he might overreach his boundaries. He might become unprofessional. Oh, this is a nice place, she fine, so let me say something. No, I'm answering the door. The big dude is gonna answer the door. And even to the point to where I swear to God, I have friends that I would give my old boots to so they could sit them by the door if she was a single mother. So when the cable guy coming in, he sees some big boots or old gun holster, he might want to stay in line because somebody might be there. That's different. That's covering a household. That's not yours. But that's one of the things that protection may manifest. You being mindful who comes into your house, being mindful of the things that you're bringing yourself. Somebody might have planted a seed while you were out, and you bring that into your house. It might be mistrust. It might be deception. It might be anything else. That's why the pairing, the partnership is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Keep you informed so there's no surprises. Hey, listen, this happened, blah, blah, blah. Even if nothing becomes of it, you making an informed decision. So when it do come, you're prepared. You're prepared. You're not caught off guard. That's how protection looks like physically, and while you're out in the community. Just being mindful of what you are engaging in. Seeing the bigger picture. Is this really going to cause me issues down the line? Might not be right now, but down the line it might cause you issues. And normally those issues come with a person attached, with a situation attached. Simple as to where you might overspend out there, knowing that the mortgage is due, right? You might splurge on something that's really non-essential, and now you got to come back. Hey, we're gonna be late on the mortgage. We're gonna incur fees, and that can snowball and snowball, right? Again, you having company at the house. If there's some dissension between you and your partner, you telling your girlfriends all of this stuff. So now she's sitting in your house disrespecting your husband or disrespecting your boyfriend. She feel like she can do that because you're disrespecting him behind his back. Vice versa. If I have an issue with my girl and I'm telling my boys, he's sitting up in my house, and then she come home, hey babe, and he like, a little gesture, whatever the case is. Well, he take that as the opportunity to stab you in the back and try to talk to your woman. It's so many ways that thing can manifest, that you have to be conscious all the time about the things that you engage in and the things that you allow to engage you that may, infiltrate your kingdom.
Yeah, that's good. So basically, if I just added to what you just said, you're talking about intercession. You know what I mean? How do you intercede on behalf of? And the intercession is, hey, there's something that could potentially be coming up ahead. How do I get in front of it? You know what I mean? How do I make sure that instead of me having to give it a prescription, I'm gonna handle it like a vitamin kind of a situation, right? So, I believe, and like you said, I appreciate what you're saying about, having to be mindful of the space, because sometimes people don't recognize that protection of just the space and your atmosphere is really important, because everybody should have the right to come home to a healthy, harmonious space of peace. Everybody should, and
Right.
so when there's a disruption, that has to be addressed. You've mentioned several times communication being key, being extremely important.
Right.
And that is the way that, like you said, and I remember yesterday you said you understand that there may be venting involved. Okay, you might have to vent, but you have to use wisdom in that so that the protection that your king wants and needs to offer you can still be available to you. You know
Right.
what I mean? Because if in fact you don't want to position the king to defend where he should be protecting.
Right.
I believe that's kind of the thing.
Right.
Like if he's in the home, if it's something going on between you and your partner,
Right.
and he doesn't know it, or if it's bigger in you than he probably recognizes, communication is going to be extremely valuable. So
Right.
that now, the kid, like you said, the children ain't mentioning stuff and so on and so forth, not realizing that you have a feeling about it,
Right.
you know, and that's
Absolutely.
been unshared. And now instead of him being able to protect and get in and have that conversation, you're having to defend. So that's
Right.
good. Another thing that we talked about is, we talked about protect. You actually kind of covered them both: protecting the family and protecting the home. You brought them both in, like you said. You're being intentional about what comes in the home, who comes in the home, how that looks, and communicating down to your partner how I'm going to
Right.
protect the home looks like this.
Right.
I want you to not answer the door for unknown guests, blah blah blah. That's communication, not just to assume that a person is supposed to know how you run your kingdom.
Right.
Or your home, or your household, or whatever. I remember even down to having conversations where, like, we've had conversation and you're like, I'm letting you know up front, like, here are my friends, these are
Mhm.
the people that are my friends, so that you'll know, like, you know what I'm saying, even
Right.
like even getting ahead of that, because social media is real and perception can be a thing.
Right.
You were like, here's how I'm going to protect in advance, to say these are my friends, so you'll know who they are, so there's no guessing now, like, wait,
Right.
this looks friendly, kind of because they're
It's about being proactive instead of reactive.
there you go.
Because we've all got that. Well, who's this? Somebody said something crazy, and then that's no, that's my friend. You can meet them at any point. You know what I mean? Whatever. It's just about being proactive. That's it. I mean, if more people took the proactive approach, we wouldn't have to defend so much. We wouldn't have to explain so much.
Yeah,
Just
that's
be
good.
proactive. Just be upfront about it. But a lot of people think that doing that, they lose power. And I don't know what power comes in um, not saying something, because, omission is still lying, right? Omission is still lying. If you're omitting something, it's something that you're not saying, you're still lying. So
Yeah,
we all say that we're adults, right? We all say that we're adults until it's time to do some adult stuff. And the one thing people cower away from is having those hard conversations. You advocate for yourself. This is what it is. You can take it or leave it. And the best way to do that, at the best time to do that, is when you get to know somebody, because you have nothing to lose. You haven't established any feelings. You might find them attractive. They might look good on paper, but you don't know them. Hey, listen, this is what it is. This is what I come with. But some of us, we come with this representative, and we come with this agreeable spirit. Oh no, I
mm,
don't do anything. To God be the glory. That's it. That's it. I don't do nothing. I'm straight. You know what I mean? So, and we really should advocate for ourselves a lot better by presenting exactly who we are. This is what I come with. If you want to deal with me, this is what you're going to have to contend with. And then, it can change down the line, because you always have to kind of check in with your partner as y'all grow together. Things may change, feelings may change, situations and seasons will change. So you always got to come back. Hey, listen, this is what's going on now. You know, my feelings have changed about X, Y, and Z. Let's move this way now. Communication is the common thread.
absolutely. That's so funny when you said agreeable spirit, Lord Jesus. Whoa.
Yeah, yeah,
uh, how many of us is showing up in the relationship with an agreeable spirit, God?
yeah. And you know what? And it only produces resentment and frustration, because you don't want to, what's the word that I'm looking for? You don't want that confrontation, because you assuming it's going to cause a confrontation, right?
Yeah.
If you disagree, right? You assume it's going to cause a confrontation. So you just, okay, that's how I meant. Yes, dear. You want what? Yes, dear. No problem. Yes, dear. That's an agreeable spirit. Knowing that it's killing you to agree to that. You don't want to do it and just say, hey, listen, let's work something else out because this is not working for me. I don't want to do it. I might just be lazy, but let me tell you why. Let me, and y'all have to come together. But we just, yes, dear, not a problem. Okay. Yeah, this is what you want. No problem. Okay. Just for the sake of not having that tough conversation because you assume that it's going to bring an argument or disagreement because a lot of people can't recover. A lot of people can't recover. I know me personally, I can get stuck in that space if I don't have time to process because I could bring myself out.
Yeah.
But when somebody's being mad, hey, you okay? You okay, baby? Let's just talk. Like, listen, you got to give me a minute or you're going to lengthen the time it's going to take for me to shake out of this. I'll be okay because, agreement doesn't mean an argument. It doesn't mean the end of the world. It doesn't mean that, you don't love me. But a lot of times in people's mind, that's what it equates to. Oh, you're not
Absolutely.
agreeing with me? Oh my God, you don't feel the same way about me, or etc. And that's not the truth.
Yeah, that's good. That agreeable thing right there. And then Tay coming in here, she came in here yelling. Okay. Said louder for the people in the back. Taylor came in here yelling, okay? She said louder, and then she talking about wow, like she hit the wow. She came in yelling. Jackie gave us a whole lesson that I want everybody to go and like and love and read. I'm gonna just read a couple of points that she added on here. She said his hardship times her ability to help equals support. His seed times her ability to multiply by her ability to incubate uh, um, equals a child. His
Right,
goals and gifts multiplied by her cheerleading plus her strategy equals success. She's got a whole bunch of math equations, girl.
right,
You
right,
better,
right. I know what you're doing.
yeah. She got a whole bunch of math equations. But then she said, when she does the opposite of these things, okay, she's not only adding to the problem or temporary circumstances, but she's subtracting from his confidence, trust, security,
Right.
loyalty. And then it divides the connection between you both on all levels. Well, Jackie, I mean, just let us know when the book coming out, Jackie. Just
No, that's right. That's the power of a woman to multiply whatever the man gives her. You
yeah,
know.
yeah,
So
that's
just
really
just imagine, right? You getting with somebody who mirrors everything that you come with internally. I'm not talking about materialistically. So if you in your natural state, right? That's assuming that that's that's what you're here for, to multiply. Imagine if we both work in that same capacity, right? The things
yeah,
that you come with, I help you multiply.
yes.
That's powerful. That's really,
It
really powerful.
is.
So that's why it's important to have somebody show up, or you choose somebody, or you choose each other that's gonna help that manifest.
Absolutely, that's good. And because it definitely is powerful. Now we want to talk about, what does an intruder look like? An intruder can be many things, you guys. An intruder doesn't always have to be, it can be connected to a person, but it doesn't
Right,
always have to be an outsider. It
right.
doesn't always have to be an outside friend, and things like that. To say,
It,
hey,
it, it
LaDonna,
huh?
and I want to say, hey, Jocelyn. Um, but yeah, the intruder doesn't have to be those things. What are some, you gave me a very good one. What can an intruder be?
An intruder can be your own child. Your intruder can be the mother-in-law. The intruder can be somebody close to you. It could be your friend. It don't always have to be an outside person. And outside person, we want to include in it the work wife or the work husband, right? We want to the deacons or the pastor at church can be an intruder. But more often than not, if you want to, scave away the outside sources, it can be somebody in your own home. It could be your own mind. It can be an intruder. You might see something like comparison is the thief of all joy, they say, right? You know,
Yep.
you
Ooh.
focusing on, again, we're gonna bring in these Instagram models and you kind of looking at just, oh, well, I don't compare to them. And then it's something as simple like this. Oh, you like big booty girls, don't you? Just something that simple, like, whoa, hold up, where'd that come from? And that's your mind. He wasn't on Instagram looking at them. Oh, I ain't got no booty like an Instagram girl. You know, I don't know why you like this still or whatever. Like, you know, people's minds will play tricks on them. That's an intruder. You know, your
Yeah.
own mind can play tricks on you to cause division in your household. And then don't think that children are not smart, you know, because a lot of times we don't have the luxury of leaving our children everywhere. You know, we talk freely around them, oh, blah, 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 thinking that they're not picking this stuff up, right? So now they causing a wedge, you know, where you want to spend time with your partner and they just like, well, you know what? I did want to go here. You know, I did want to do this. Something simple. That's an intruder. You know,
Mm.
they take many forms. Like, and this is just some kind of, you know, some small examples that we have to be mindful of. We have to be mindful, and we have to, for the sake of the kingdom succeeding, address these things. You know, so I used to say, and I'm paraphrasing here, your relationship has to be so strong that nobody will have the balls to come in and try to divide you. Because what you say to me, my wife is gonna hear. What you say to
Yeah.
her, I'm gonna hear. And
Yep.
we're both gonna address you. Or we're both gonna know. So when they know that you're the type of person that don't like the left hand know what the right hand is doing, then you get the Asatan coming out, you know, the whisperer. Hey, yeah, you know, this, that, and the third, you need to do this, girl. You know what, dude? I don't know why you putting up with this. We could go over here where the holes at. You know what I mean? Anything to cause division. And when somebody step out of line, um, towards the kingdom, right? Somebody step out of line, it needs to be addressed. Because how many of those king movies, right? Let's just go back to the film industry. Those king movies, it's always some dude that want to overthrow the king, right? So he might
Yeah.
be like the wizard, or he might be, you know, somebody close to the king, but he feel he can do a better job, right? He
Yeah.
feel that the king has lost touch. Whatever the case is, I can do a better job. We need to get the king up out of here, and then they create a whole rebellion behind the king's back. That's a thing. That's a thing. How many times have you had toxic advice from a friend? Girl, I don't know why he don't let you go out. No, I said I'm not going out. You know, not that he's not letting me go out. I told you I wasn't going because I don't want to
Yeah.
go. Oh,
Yeah.
he didn't let you. Oh, you whooped. You whooped. You know, something as simple as that. You know what I mean? That's how dudes say, oh, you must be whooped, bro. She ain't letting you out the house. You know, from the outside. Oh, you got a man. He don't let you have friends. You know what I mean? Division. These are the whisperers. You know, so nobody should get the inclination that, or it has to be so to where the minute somebody tell you something is not a surprise. Oh, I knew that already. He told me about that. Like, why are you trying to make a mountain out of a molehill? I've been on that already. We agreed already. Remember the link that I showed you of the show when he was like, oh, I think your husband killed you. Oh, I
Oh yeah.
know. We talked about this already. You know what I mean? So that was the illest thing. Like, there's no surprises. We
Yeah.
confer together to make decisions for the kingdom. You know, it's not just me by myself. I get tired. I will get
Yeah.
tired. So your partner needs to share that load, become your your sounding board, becomes your relief, all of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's good. Let me tell you, we got Dontrell on here. He done sounded the alarm. He done did a round of applause. Dontrell, I'm so grateful that that you're honestly look, you feeling it. He was like, oh, he preaching now. That's what he said. Oh, he preaching now. Listen, and then hold on. Is it Cedra? I don't know that I said her name right. Cedra Walton. She said, are y'all gonna find me a husband or not?
Oh, that's my homie Cedra.
Yes, Cedra. That you gonna find me a husband or nah? I said, hey to my Jocelyn, yes. And then she said, omission is still lying. Absolutely. Jackie said, oh, it can be an addiction. Jackie said the intruder can be an addiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I
The
agree.
intruder can be an addiction. When we first had this conversation, he stated, and again he hit on it today, but an intruder can be the children. So that's going to lead us into now we were going to talk about, like, nowadays blending families is a thing. There's a lot of blending that's happening because this is the world we live in. There are people who have exes and babies. Okay,
Right.
so we got
Right.
blended families. From the standpoint of, from your standpoint, what does it look like? Because I know, like, for myself, and even talking to ladies, ladies will be like, well, I'm nervous about you know, blended my family, like, what is this consideration going to look like? I myself always say, like, you should never, if you know what your standard is, you should never have to forsake your standard.
Right.
So that means that, like, for me, having a 18-year-old son, having a 12-year-old daughter, God has for me is what I've said for years. Whoever God has for me, they're going to be for me, and they're going to be for my children. They're going to offer a voice or whatever. And I like what you said all the time. You're like, I am merely a resource. You know, you don't got to, I don't have to replace the existing parent, blah, blah, blah. I'm a resource. And so as a king coming into the, okay, Sandra, she said, be right back. So as a stewarding his home and very intentional. Now he's already, you know, established he wants to do relationship with this particular person, and that person has children. We've already discussed that there's a potential that children can be the intruder, but how do you steward that? How do you bring those, you know, dynamics together? What does that look like for you?
Well, I mean, I want to start with the introduction, right? So from my standpoint, from a king standpoint, the introduction is very important, right? And I believe what has worked in the past with my past experience, and I'm just speaking from experience here, is like the mother introducing the child in introducing the man to the child at a proper time and in a proper way works, right?
Okay.
And sometimes you have to make them feel like you're giving them the scoop first. You know what I mean? Because I remember dating a woman who had a child. So what we did is we conveniently bumped into each other at the movie theater. I wanted to take her to the movies. She couldn't go because she didn't have a babysitter. So I just bought seats nearby each other. Then, hey, you know, we bumped into her at the movie theater, just said a few words and kept going, oh, that's my friend Faraji, blah, blah, blah. You know, he's a really nice man. And it just planted that seed, right? It planted that seed that, okay, this is mommy's friend, whatever the case is. Then I didn't see her for months after that. But then when she did, hey, mommy, ain't that your friend, whatever the case is, the nice man you was telling me about, etc. Now, these examples are going on that you found a partner, you found a man that you want to bring your children around. Y'all progressing to the stage. And it's basically you have to get to know everybody. You have to get to know everybody. Because again, if a child sees that there's some issue, right? Sees there's an issue, they can play off that, right? Okay, well, he don't never met my daddy, but he don't like my daddy because the mama been talking smack about the daddy. You know, he walking around the house and she says, "Well, get your punk ass daddy. I beat him up," or whatever the case is, right? It could be. I've heard it all. You know, it could be one of those situations. I remember when my daughter, she had to be like 7 years old, right? And you know, her mom had got remarried, etc. So then she came by my house and we playing around. Oh, my daddy took me. She said, oh. I said, no, baby, that's fine. You got two daddies. I'm the one who gave you life. He's the one that take care of you, put food in your stomach every day. You know, that's fine. You can call him daddy too. Daddy is a title. The action means more. You know, I was very involved in my daughter's upbringing. You know, some men feel slighted. They want the man, they want the father totally removed. Women want the mother totally removed, and that's just not realistic. You have to make peace. I remember years ago being in a relationship and she was upset that I was friends with her kid's father. We would go smoke cigars, we go shoot pool together. I have no reason to dislike this man, especially if he's a present father, right? If he's a present father, I'm not talking about a deadbeat father, right? But their relationship was skewed, but he was a cool dude, you know what I mean? And he was trying to be there for his child. She fought through hell to try not to make that happen because of the way she was feeling. You know, so she was initially trying to give me the impression that he was a deadbeat dude, but she was putting a stop to that. I said, listen, there's no need to let him, you know, see his child, whatever, in that relationship repair itself. But again, integrating it takes to really know that that's what you want to do, because you can't have your child out here with Uncle Ray Ray, Uncle Junebug. She going around town and she got all these uncles that ain't related by blood, nowhere, no how, not even by marriage. You know, so you have to definitely be sure. And as a parent, you have to vet these individuals. Like I encourage people do background checks on people. Remember, I was telling you about the list that I have, the pedophile list and all that other stuff that you can search to make sure, you know. And even though people end up on that this by accident is a conversation that need to be had, so you can ensure the safety of your child. And then the child is not privy to all of that information. When you know a child by nature is intentionally trying to insert themselves, right? Because there might be some lack that the child is feeling, right? So I used to spend all of
Yeah.
this time with mommy. Now, Mr. Raji got all of her time. She may feel some type of way, and then they may act out, not in a real bad way, but they want to be sad and they get extra
Absolutely.
clingy and stuff like that. So there's some sharing at a time that has to be done. But then you need to explain them, hey, listen, I like Mr. Raji. We're talking about, depending on how old the child is, we're trying to be together and blah, blah, blah. And then me coming in, hey, listen, I'm not trying to replace your daddy, but I'm a resource for you. I have the same goal as your parents do. My goal is to make sure that you're the best productive adult that you can be, a successful adult, and you have to break that down to children.
Yeah, that's good. I remember even and just kind of co-signing that, it is imperative that at the introduction, like, and even prior to the introduction, one day I've been having conversations with my children, like, what are your thoughts on me getting remarried, or what are your thoughts on me dating? And it was really just it was, again, like we talk about how there are seeds that can be sown in the negative, there can be seeds sown in the positive. So it was giving the expectation that there's a possibility that I may move forward in a relationship. And like you said, it's not you have to know when it comes to your children, how, I know, again, don't tell the left hand what the right hand is doing, but when you're sharing, when you're building a kingdom, and you understand that you're preparing for the king to have a seat, then there has to be some acknowledgement that he's coming. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so from, both standpoints, even you being, I remember you telling me when you got previously married, your daughter was an adult, grown child, and she felt away because she didn't really get to be involved in that process of you getting married. Was that
Right.
correct?
Right. And she ragged on my ex-wife's feet all the time because of it.
Lord Jesus.
She had some jacked up feet though, but yeah. So yeah, that was a thing.
And so so it doesn't matter about the age. A lot of times I've learned, I feel like I've seen and I've learned that everybody has a different perspective around older children, but older children still matter and they still care.
Right.
And so it's important that the conversation are happening across the board. Now, one of the things that I also, when we talk about the kids, are we talking about the king, right? Why is this conversation? My aunt asked me the other day, why are you having conversations about queens and kings? Because I want to provoke an elevated way of thinking. I really want people to really rise to the occasion, if you will. Being made in the image of God means that you were made with a higher level of thinking, that you were meant to not be lowly. And
Right.
so, and you may not be rich and all of that, but that does not have any bearings on your character, your integrity, right? So you can still show up in the world being your absolute best self, wanting the best for yourself and your family, being intentional and not sacrificing your values just
I
because you
agree.
haven't necessarily gotten what it is that you think that you want, or what have you. And
Right.
so so for myself, I began to recognize, even when it comes down to like making space for the king, or or learning like who it is that you want to have in your life. One of the questions that one should ask themselves is, do you want the replica of who you are of who you are partnered with in your children? Do you want the replica of who the person that you're partnered with in you? Because I began to still have an influence on you as the king. You as the king have an influence on me as the queen, and then we still collectively have influence on our children, our community, the secondary family members and all of that. Are you willing to allow the rep with to be reproduced in your children?
Right.
That
That's
was,
good.
I know it may sound like elementary to somebody else, but it was such a really revelational moment for me. Would I want you to reproduce who you are in my kids?
Right. Because you know what happens that, I mean, that's you're absolutely right, and I 100% agree. But in context, right? In context, whether the parent is married, have a boyfriend, etc., those negative experiences still scar that child. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's not like, okay, well, I'm not going to take it as bad because it was only my stepdaddy beating my mama. I just saw a man beating my mama. So I'm
Yeah.
a now beat women. That's acceptable. Or little girls, okay, it's okay to be hit because, oh, don't worry, baby, he only hit me because he loved me and I did wrong. And you pass that down to your children. So on the positive end of the spectrum, your children will be the reflection of the parents, just like the birth parents. Your child is a sum total of who the mother and the father is, but the influence in the home. And we're talking about stepfathers in this example. So yeah, so if how I am you don't like, just know if I'm around, your children is going to pick up some of this stuff. Remember, we were talking about narcissism or being a narcissist or having narcissistic behavior. You might not be a full narcissist, but you're gonna pick up some behaviors from what it is. Whether I get up and go to work every day, whether I take care of the home, I show you affection, because children learn love from their parents. Some people have never seen their parent or parents in a loving moment. Can you
Mm.
believe that?
Wow.
Can you believe that? They've never seen they mama and daddy or her husband or him and his wife be affectionate towards each other because they got stuck into taking care of the household, right? So they don't have those images of, you know, sharing a tender moment. So they grow up not knowing how to. And that's crazy. That's
Wow. That
absolutely
is.
crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
And like you said, that is the, their idea of relationship comes, the first view of relationship comes from us.
Right,
So what they began to, expect comes from us. So their expectations come from us.
right,
Um, and we have to be mindful that we're not showing them unhealthy expectations, um, you know, trying to attempt to make a relationship work where now our children are forcing relationships to work as well. You know
right,
what I'm saying?
right. I
It
agree.
is. Yeah, so now they're trying to make things work with a person that's toxic, and it's an infiltration, because like I said, are you willing to have a replica of who you are inside of your children? That's been a question that I've used to challenge some of my clients that are fighting for relationships that are unhealthy.
Right,
You are fighting to be in a position where this person is giving this example, providing this example for your sons, your daughters, and what have you.
right,
And now what does it look like to communicate to them, don't do this,
right,
right? Because it is easier for them to model after what they're seeing.
right.
You
They do it
much
naturally.
Go
I
ahead.
I would say they do it naturally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jackie said that statement is the exact reason why it is important to do the work within to stabilize a healthy emotional and mental state before you enter into the relationship, because you already exhibiting negative behaviors and unhealthy mindsets that you pass to your children. Another individual to that equation. Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that is definitely something. Um I never heard I love you until I was in my late teens. Wow.
Uh,
Wow. So like you're saying, that's just a real thing that we have to project love, outwardly and openly. That brings us back to, that brings us to our final point, because love is a part of our, you get to decide what your legacy includes, but I
right,
believe love should be a part of your legacy. I remember, in the passing of my mother, one reoccurring theme, or anybody who took the mic and had something to say about her, was that she was a legit loving woman, that she cared for people whether she knew them or not, but she had a relationship with them or not. She left a legacy of love, and that is something that we have said, as me being her oldest of 8 children that she birthed. We all say that she left a legacy of love. So for you as a king, just give me, if you can, run down, how many ever come to mind. What are some things that make up your legacy that are important to you?
well, the biggest thing is how I treated people and how I treated my family. You could leave them insurance plans, you can leave them buildings and businesses, but you could be a bastard as well. You know what I mean? Oh, he was a mean bastard, but he left us this big building. You know what I mean? And like, no, you don't want to do that. Your legacy is how you treated people, because that shows through in your lineage. You know what I mean? So if I treat people well and I'm a loving person, my children will be loving. And oh, I can see your father in you. That's what my mother used to tell me all the time. I can see your father in you right now. Oh, you speaking and you writing books, that was your daddy. I just love that man. And that's what I want my legacy to be. It's not to, oh, leave buildings and businesses. That's basic, right? That's basic. That's what we want to do. We want to pass down generational wealth. But the type of person you are will be my legacy. People know me for being, I love to laugh, you know. I'm a horrible joke teller, but again, just being a person of good rapport. And that's what I want my legacy to be. You know, I want people to think about me and smile, or I want them to laugh, or I want them to have that love and feeling like, you know what? When he was here, he tried to take care of us. You know, he tried to make sure everything was straight. You know, I want to elevate the people around me. You know, because remember, that's how you do. Like you get loyalty, and you get love in return from elevating people, not keeping people in a posture where they're below you. You know, remember in terms of king and a queen, you elevate your queen so the peasants can't reach her. You know what I mean? You treat her better than nobody else can treat her. You ain't got to worry about her going nowhere. You know what I mean? Because ain't nobody gonna do what I do, you know? So that's what I want my legacy to be.
Awesome. Awesome. So y'all listen, y'all heard it first. The Heart of a King right here, consistently for the last 3 days. And I must say, thank you, Dr. Faraji. It was a pleasure.
Welcome. You're welcome. I enjoyed myself.
Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure to hear from you. And, you know, and apparently, you know, the things you said really resonated, stirred up some really good, you know, stirred up some really good conversation and just, you know, threw out some good seeds out there. So I'm really grateful for that. Thank you guys for your engagement, for tuning in. Do me a favor, share this video right now to a group or a friend. You know, please and thank you. We want to continue to inspire people to have healthy relationships. Understanding that that's what makes the world a better place, you know. And as he said, it's not that, you know, legacy cannot be monetary things. It's not that you can't pass your, now, because trust me, y'all don't know, but Dr. Faraji's leaving his children land and houses. So at the end of the day, you know, y'all don't know that, but I just told you. So that's, but what means the most and what weighs the most is honestly how we treat each other. So definitely share this video so that we can continue to inspire to make this world a better place by the way we show up individually and how we work together collectively. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and until next time.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.